You've been lied to about what makes you valuable. You were trained to believe that being busy means being important. But what if your endless to-do list is actually part of a system designed to keep you distracted? From color-coded planners to productivity apps that promise control, a billion-dollar industry is profiting from your exhaustion. And the scariest part? You think you're optimizing your life, but someone else is optimizing you. Because there's one question no one dares to ask. Who really benefits from you being too busy to think?
You were born into a machine that values motion over meaning. On your first day of school, a bell rang and you learned a lesson. Hurrying is praise. You sprinted from class to lunch to recess, and somewhere along the way, the rhythm of urgency became your heartbeat. Here's the bombshell. Most of us never questioned that training. We accepted the idea that being busy made us better, more valuable, more capable, more seen. We filled notebooks with schedules, downloaded apps promising efficiency, and bragged about packed calendars like medals of honor. But that pride came at the cost of clarity. Picture this, a dimly lit room. A single desk lamp illuminates a planner with blank dates begging to be filled. The pen hovers in your hand, whispering, "Be productive." It feels meaningful. But what if the glow of that lamp is guiding you deeper into a maze, one built by voices telling you busyness is your worth? Here's the twist. Modern productivity culture didn't arise organically. It was engineered by marketers who sold the idea that productivity equals self-worth, planners marketed like self-help books, apps advertised as mindfulness tools but designed to keep you hooked on motion, coaches offering morning routines that promise transformation while subtly training you to chase the next win. And we bought it. I did too. Now imagine this. It's midnight. You're scrolling through a productivity app, the neon blue light burning your retinas. You check the final task of the day, exhaustion disguised as achievement. You feel a rush, but underneath that dopamine hit, your brain whispers, "Why am I so tired?" This indoctrination is silent. It doesn't shout. It whispers, "Just one more task. Finish your to-do list. You'll be better if you stay busy." Each whisper builds another wall around your mind until the voice of your own intuition, rested, quiet, questioning, is drowned out completely. So let's ask what no one else is asking. What if the relentless chase for productivity is exactly what's keeping us from seeing the trap? Before we follow the money and expose who built this system, hit the like button and subscribe to Bull Secrets. This isn't motivation. This is a map out of the maze, because the deeper we go, the more disturbing it gets. And in the next chapter, we'll meet the prophets of hustle and the empire they built on your exhaustion. They used to preach salvation. Now they preach productivity. In the last 2 decades, a new gospel took over your feed. And this one doesn't offer heaven. It offers hustle. Success isn't measured in peace anymore. It's measured in exhaustion. How early did you wake up? How late did you stay at work? How long can you push before breaking? You've heard the commandments. Wake up at 5 a.m., work while they rest, grind until they notice. But notice what? And who gave these rules the power of Scripture? These mantras didn't come from monks or philosophers. They came from startup founders, tech bros, influencers in co-working spaces, from people who filmed themselves sprinting on treadmills while answering emails and called that discipline. Let's be clear, this isn't inspiration, it's indoctrination with better lighting. Rewind to 2011. Instagram launches. Suddenly, aesthetic productivity becomes a brand. Your morning routine isn't yours anymore. It's a performance for strangers. Desks bathed in sunlight, oat milk lattes beside open laptops, rise and grind in golden hour tones. But beneath the filters, something sinister grows. The idea that rest is failure,
that slowing down means falling behind, that stillness is weakness. These hustle prophets built empires on your insecurity. They sold you tools to optimize your life, but what they really sold was a belief. If you're not doing everything, you're nothing. The faces of this movement are familiar. Elon Musk once claimed he was working 120 hours a week, and if he wasn't, Tesla would die. Gary Vaynerchuk told millions that taking weekends off in your 20s is a mistake you'll regret forever. And the influencers? They don't just show up at 4 a.m. They film it, with time lapses, transitions, playlists, as if waking before sunrise makes you morally superior. But here's the uncomfortable truth. The people telling you to work harder are often the ones who benefit when you never stop. They monetize your hustle. Your fear of being left behind funds their lifestyle. Books, courses, mentorships, events. You're not just chasing dreams, you're fueling their business model. It's not that hard work doesn't matter, it's that we've turned it into a cult. And every cult needs a ritual. Yours? Working through lunch, answering emails at dinner, saying yes when your body says stop. The new religion isn't faith, it's fatigue. And the altar? Your time, your clarity, your peace. Even the phrase "no days off" sounds noble, until you realize it really means no space to think. And still, we chase, endlessly. Because the finish line keeps moving. Because somewhere, someone is working harder, and we're told that matters more than working smarter. But what happens when this myth collapses? When the grind no longer delivers the promised reward? When burnout becomes the baseline, not the exception? That's when we see the machinery behind the message. Next, we go deeper into the billion-dollar ecosystem that feeds on your hustle. The planners, the productivity apps, the systems designed not to liberate you, but to keep you spinning. Because if hustle is the new holy, then someone's selling salvation. And they're making a fortune. You feel overwhelmed, so you search for control. That's when the system steps in, offering the perfect solution. A new app, a smarter planner, a revolutionary life operating system. You download it, you color code your week, you block time, you feel in command. But a strange thing happens a few days later. You're still exhausted, still scattered, still behind. That's not a bug. That's the business model. Welcome to the billion-dollar productivity loop, a self-reinforcing cycle that profits every time you feel disorganized, anxious, or not enough. Let's trace the money. In 2023 alone, the productivity software market passed $45 billion. Apps like Notion, Todoist, Trello, and Monday.com promise clarity, but rely on your continued confusion to stay relevant. Why? Because if one system actually fixed your overwhelm, you'd stop needing new ones. The illusion of optimization is addictive. Each new tool feels like a breakthrough. This time it'll work. This time you'll finally catch up. This time you'll be free. But freedom never arrives, because these tools don't simplify your life. They multiply your decisions. Should you use time blocking or task batching? Notion or ClickUp? Bullet journal or second brain? You go down YouTube rabbit holes, you buy templates, you build dashboards, you redesign your system for the third time this month. And by the end of the week, you've spent more time organizing your work than actually doing it. This is the loop, and the market knows it. Think of the ecosystem orbiting your stress. Creators selling $197 productivity courses. Influencers monetizing their workspace aesthetics. Software companies locking features behind subscriptions. SaaS startups pitching the ultimate solution every quarter. Even your calendar is a product now. Sync it, track it, visualize it, sell it. Every click feeds the loop. Every upgrade promises less chaos, but delivers more complexity. Here's the darkest twist. The more optimized your workflow becomes, the less capacity you have to question it. Now you're managing 3 dashboards, 2 habit trackers, and 5 automation tools. You're too busy maintaining your system to notice you've lost the point. That question, why am I even doing all this, slowly disappears, buried under layers of so-called improvement. In the name of productivity, you've become managed. And when the system fails, as it always does, you don't blame the system. You blame yourself, your inconsistency, your lack of discipline, your inability to keep up with a machine you were never meant to outrun. The truth is unsettling. This isn't about helping you become your best self. It's about keeping you endlessly occupied in ways that are trackable, upgradable, and profitable. Because the less time you spend thinking, the more predictable you become. But the real threat to the loop isn't another app. It's the moment you stop searching. Because in that silence, something dangerous happens. You realize you were never the user. You were the product all along. And some people, quietly, deliberately, are choosing to walk away. Not to do less, but to think more. Not to optimize, but to reclaim. And once you've seen the loop for what it is, you can never unsee it. You think you're in control, that your calendar is your decision, your habits are your discipline, your focus is your strength. But what if none of that is true? What if the very systems you rely on to take control are quietly taking control of you? Control is the most seductive lie ever sold. It's packaged as freedom, masked as choice, framed as empowerment, and we buy it daily. Wake up at 5, journal for 10 minutes, cold shower, no sugar, inbox 0, deep work. You follow the routine like ritual. You feel efficient, optimized, disciplined. But if you miss one step, how do you feel? Guilt, anxiety, that creeping fear that your edge is slipping. That's not control, that's dependency. Because real control doesn't punish you for pausing. It doesn't collapse when you skip a day. It doesn't require a dashboard to prove your worth. But the productivity machine doesn't want that kind of control. It wants you in a loop where every slip feels like failure, and every failure demands another system to fix it. And it goes deeper. These systems don't just hijack your time, they hijack your identity. You're no longer someone who writes, you're someone who writes 500 words before 8 a.m. You're not just a reader, you're tracking pages, streaks, and stats. You become the metrics. And the moment you stop measuring, it feels like you stopped existing. That's the illusion. Because productivity doesn't give you control. It gives you just enough structure to feel in charge while keeping you too busy to notice you're still being managed. Why is it that the more tools you adopt, the more overwhelmed you feel? You've got reminders, trackers, integrations, but your mind is never quiet. Your day is never yours. There's always a ping, a badge, a new hack that changes everything. This isn't optimization, it's surveillance. You've become your own micromanager, tracking yourself on behalf of a system that profits from your obedience. It tells you to take control. What it means is stay in line. Here's the paradox no one talks about. The people who feel most in control are often the most controlled. They run flawless systems. They hit their goals. They show up every day. But inside, they're tense, brittle, terrified to fall behind, afraid of stillness because stillness might expose the emptiness beneath the routine. Control becomes a shield, not from chaos, but from the truth. Because if you stopped, really stopped, you might start asking dangerous questions. What am I building? Who is this really for? And why do I feel more trapped now than before I started optimizing? The productivity machine has no answer. It only offers motion. Keep tracking, keep tweaking, keep performing the illusion. Because the moment you realize you don't need any of it, the machine breaks. And that moment of clarity is what it fears most.
They never needed you to think. They just needed you to move, faster, busier, quieter. The cult of productivity was never about getting things done. It was about keeping you doing, so you wouldn't look up, so you wouldn't ask why. But now you've seen it. The indoctrination, the hustle gods, the billion-dollar trap, the illusion of control. And once you see the system, really see it, you can't go back to obeying it blindly. You start to hear your own thoughts again. You feel time stretch. You realize slowing down isn't failure, it's rebellion. And maybe that's the most radical act in a world that monetizes your exhaustion. If this opened something in you, if it made you question the game, help this truth reach someone who's still trapped in the loop. Hit like, subscribe, share it quietly, because silence is how the system survives. And the moment you stop moving long enough to ask the real questions, that's when the spell begins to break.